Boom, we are live. What is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me here on my channel. My name's Sean, and welcome to episode number 3 of the Tarsis Tavern. As you can hear, my voice is in much better shape than it was yesterday and the day before. So we are back. So we're just discussing about the days and the times for the show. This weekend got kind of messed up again because I was away on the family trip. So we are going to get back to the Sundays at 7 p.m. for sure. So there's no need to change the graphic. No need. 66.6%. Not even this is the right time. My balls have officially dropped. You know, we're back to my regular voice, which is super nice. Super nice. So, yes, episode number 3. Thank you, everybody, for, that is joining us here live. If you are not able to join us live and you're watching this on YouTube, that is fantastic. Make sure you come and watch the come watch the live stream on Sunday next week at 7 p.m. Twitch.tv/775. And for those of you that cannot stay the entire time, this will also be up in full form on the YouTube. Again, in my socials panel. Make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube. All right, let's bring in my main man, Mr. Scotty Mac.
What is going on, Savage?
What is going on, buddy? How are you tonight?
Fantastic. I am still high off of this insane run of Anthem that I've been playing this week.
So
Holy Pete.
Unfortunately, we're not able to get Mr. Scotty Mac on the video yet. Still having some troubles with that. I tried to get it through the Discord, but it was just showing a blank black screen. So we're gonna run the chat box here again for this evening, but then we'll hopefully get Mr. Scotty Mac on video next week. So, 4 main topics tonight that we're going to get through. The first one's already up on the screen, which is our initial impressions of Anthem. We're also going to run through what day 1 patch is going to look like, what the haters have wrong about Anthem, and then we're going to talk about what we want moving forward. So, the way I like to run this is I'm going to change the topics for each thing that we're talking about. Keep your questions related to the topic, and then afterwards we are going to have about an hour and a half kind of open Q&A session. We'll load up some games and get some game streaming time in just on an open Q&A. So, is that a link to Pornhub on your desktop? No, it's not. No, it's not, actually. Why would I see you? Anyways, yes, questions related to what we're talking about, and then we will open it up to Q&A at the end. What is going on, everybody? Legolas, Rook, Kyrian, the lovely Rowan. Who else is here? Josh is here. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, so let's get right into it. Initial impressions of Anthem. For me, it's been great. The time that I put in with this game has been fantastic. Is there bugs? Absolutely. And we're going to discuss those bugs here today. But overall, if we're looking at this from an overall just what the game provides, what we've been playing, I think the content is there. I think the overall experience is there for me. The movement, the combat. The one thing that I've been using to describe this combat, and I'm sure Scotty Mac will agree with me, is intensity. The intensity of the combat is insane. Mr. Mac, what are your thoughts?
So I think with regards to the intensity, I agree. I think you need to be, in order to get the maximum enjoyment out of this game, I think you really need to be continually pushing yourself in terms of difficulty, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And as long as you have sort of that fear that I might not complete this, you're going to have a blast with this game. Yeah. I think that it's set up in such a way that it can scale to accommodate those that just kind of want to cruise. But I think you're going to get the most out of this by having that engaging, intense combat where you need to, communicate with each other. You need to really coordinate your efforts and really kind of leverage the systems for combat that, obviously BioWare has put it in front of us. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Awesome. All right.
So let me ask you a question though.
Yeah.
So, about your overall impressions of the game. So, how many hours have you put in this weekend? Like 15, 20?
Yeah, I'm around the 15, 20 mark. Yeah, because I skipped I was not able to play on Sunday, so I don't have as much time as you guys are. But I'm like 15 to 20. I'm level 21 right now.
Okay, so here's my simple question.
Yep.
Have you enjoyed functionally every moment that you've had playing this game?
Functionally,
like just yes or no. This is not a go deep. This is a yes or no.
Yes. Because
Okay.
because to not answer that question from like a think about it functionality point, if it's just like a straight up yes or no, just bang right now. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Did you enjoy this period of time playing the game more than you did the early access demo?
Yes, because early access demo, as we know, had way more problems.
Okay. So my follow up to that is, did you enjoy this experience more because it was smoother with less problems, or did you enjoy it because it had more content?
So disruption always takes away from something, right? We can agree on that. So the experience being disrupted, because we knew what the demo was, right? We knew that the demo was just a small piece of the pie, right? So if you take a small piece of the pie and you're disrupting that, it's going to be really, really bad. With this though, since we have, what would you say, 80% of the pie right now?
Yep, sure.
Right? A little bit of disruption doesn't feel as bad, if you understand what I'm saying.
Well, because I think what you're trying to say there is that there's more good to outweigh those small moments of disruption.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So Kiri makes a point here. Like, we really only did have a few glitches in the early access. Like, they were big ones, but there weren't like a friggin' laundry list of expected. Like, we didn't expect perfection.
Yep. And
there were really only probably a handful of major issues that really kind of took away from people's experience.
Yeah.
So I think, as far as my first impressions go, like, I really view this experience personally as the open beta. Like, this really is the open beta. This is the point where, they have what they think is their final, very near to or the final build of the game, and now they're putting it through its paces with a bunch more people to play the game, make their final tweaks, and then hit a day one like release patch.
And that's what I saw on socials a lot too, right? Was that people were saying that this is not early access, that they should have labeled this a beta.
Well, I mean, you got to call it something. Marketing would argue with you, right? And that's fine. But at the end of the day, I think that we all need to kind of temper expectations, and all of that, by the way, is really clearly demonstrated through if you monitor the communications that have been going into the folks at BioWare, and taking a look at their responses, not only the quality of those responses, the speed of those responses, but also how fast that feedback is actually being acted upon. And I think that that's a really big piece of this, and I think we're going to revisit this quite regularly as we go along in our conversation tonight. But I think that that sort of reactionary time is really indicative of they know what they're doing with this, and they know that it's not full release. Right.
And I want to pull something out of the chat here between Kyrian Frog and Rook. If you see this here, Scott, Rook Jackson says it's the beta. It's by definition not open. It's a paid beta, which is fine, but it's not open. Kyrian then says it's early access. Beta is a far less polished version.
And that's a great way to summarize it.
I think we're playing. I think we're playing what could technically, if you want to get down to brass tacks, a polished beta.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and again, to kind of hint towards something we're going to talk about later, I think what we're seeing is a really solid skeleton that they're presenting us that has a little bit of clothing on it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that they've done a really good job with presenting that. The skeleton itself looks pretty solid.
Yep.
But that's, I think, what we're seeing. We're not seeing a fully fleshed out experience here. and that's what we're going to get to. So
Yeah.
anyways, so overall I've had a blast. I played about 25-30 hours so far this
So have
weekend.
I. Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it was awesome. The game is everything that I wanted the game to be, right? Like I haven't been on the Anthem train as long as you guys have been, following along since it was announced, et cetera, et cetera. Kind of got into this late, but I'm a huge Mass Effect guy. We talked about this in my first episode. I love all the looter shooters. I love all the ARPG grinding and stuff. And having those two things sort of married to me was really attractive. And so, playing through, gameplay was really smooth for me. I was running it on SSD, so I didn't have any issues. Obviously, my graphics and computer are totally fine.
Yep.
I couple the glitches I experienced once or twice. I only really got booted out of the game, I think, twice over the course of 30 hours, which is pretty damn good. I didn't have a lot of the the little things that were occurring, so I was fortunate in that regard. But yeah, man, I can't wait to play more. Like, I'm going away for work this week.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be able to play at night.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
Yep. Yeah. And I think one thing too, and we might as well put this into initial impressions and kind of talk about what we were going into here. I had this Reddit post up that you sent me today too, titled "Some of the entitlement around here needs to stop." And what this Reddit post is talking about is that initial impressions, not just for us, but for the entire community behind this game, there seems to be individuals on two sides. Right?
Whoa. Are you telling me that the internet is a place ripe full with like a dichotomous point of view? Are you telling me that only exists on the internet? Is that a thing?
So I love this post here. It says, "Some of the entitlement around here needs to stop." I'm talking about both sides. There are certain individuals on both sides of the spectrum who see fit to complain or defend certain things when they really have no grounds to do so. There are people who have logged 60 to 70 hours on the game already who are crying about being bored with the content and the game having nothing to do. What? You literally just spent 3 days playing the same game nonstop. Thousands of games won't even net you 15 continuous hours of gameplay, yet these people see fit to moan about there being nothing to do or the game feels stale. Secondly, there are those who will defend this game with their last dying breath. Look, this game is fun, looks great, and has an awesome foundation. However, the state that it was released in is less than stellar. Game-breaking bugs, ridiculous load times, optimization, cosmetics, clarity of systems all fall short of what was expected of a high-budget game. So this is really what we're getting to.
Yeah. And I'm really glad. I'm glad you did, read a lot of that, because I think that you are absolutely seeing people that are just all up on BioWare's junk.
Yep.
Up the good side, and then there's a bunch of them that are all down the bad side. And I found that there's a really interesting divide, I think, based on how people are spouting the arguments. There are some people that are making the arguments that are value-based.
Yes.
That are saying, I've spent X number of dollars on a game and I expect this, right? And so there's where your entitlement tone comes in.
Yeah.
But, then you've got the other side of the people, which are just like, that are playing the other side of the value argument, which is like, I've played 30 hours of this game, and for $2 an hour, like, I've done stupider stuff with $2 an hour, for more than that, and I can't argue with that. I mean, even just the weekend, it's fantastic. But I get that different people are in different states as far as sort of the finances go, right? So I just think overall it's comical in some cases to kind of watch how passionate people are about this.
And it is. And I think the problem is that, and I said this in the Savage Squad Discord a couple of days ago. Link is in my channel panels below if you want to join the Savage Squad Discord. That's where we hang out after our broadcasts. Is that I hate this idea of people saying, well, I need X amount of hours from this game, or I need X amount of this or X amount of that. And I think the problem that BioWare has had with this game is that they're trying to be very ambitious with a live service game, right? So you're not going to get X amount of hours out of this game, like, right away. Like, you are, but you're also not. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like you're gonna get so much time over a course, like over a certain amount of time, because it's a live service game. But we live in this, like, instant gratification, society now, where it's like, I need X of this right now for me to be happy. And I just don't think, I think that's the disconnect with this game in particular, is that people don't realize.
I think people are really like missing a very specific point, right? When this game came out, they very clearly stated it's a live service game. Okay, you think that they released this game in its current state without? I mean, if they hadn't posted that graphic to say, "Here's the roadmap for content in the next month," right? Like if they hadn't,
people would be going bonkers.
People would be losing their friggin' minds. And you know what? I'd probably be pretty disappointed, right? Yeah. Because I've been through the critical path already, so I've been through all the story that's there. Now that said, there's all sorts of supplementary lore stories for the side missions, right? So if you played the demo, for example, like or the beta, you end up in this situation where you chase down, like, their story is doing stuff for Matthias, right? Yeah. And you go through that little story arc. Well, that's not even part of the main story. That's actually part of one of the side storylines, which kind of run in parallel to the critical path. And I think that that's really, really, really important to note. There's going to be huge improvements. And I think that if they're going to continue to play, if they're going to continue to release content in sort of these types of waves, as they've indicated, and if they release them in a timely manner, reality is, guys, they've released enough content for this game to get us through March, like, without question. Even for those people that are doing the absurd grind.
But nobody wants to talk about that because they want it right now. They want it right now today.
Because those people forgot conveniently what it was that they were actually buying.
Because I don't think they understand. I don't think they fully understood. Now, who does that fall on? Does that fall on the publisher and the developer for not explaining it enough?
Maybe.
Potentially. Or
maybe we know the EA's been really good about communication. Maybe.
Right. Or are we in a situation where we live in a world where there's a new fucking Call of Duty that drops every year, and everybody gets what they want right away all the time? Disease says, the real question being asked, and I think it's a fair question, for hardcore gamers, will this game meet the same demise as Destiny? Well, I don't think so.
Well, okay.
We hope not.
We hope not. That's the answer to that, is we hope not, by the way. There are a lot of things that caused, Destiny's not dead per se. There's a lot of things that caused the mass exodus, okay? I read a point, okay? I've been really in and out of that Anthem Reddit all weekend. Yeah. And one guy made a point to just say, look, you know what? If there was a Reddit around when Destiny 1 was released, I could have salted the ocean with the vitriol that I would have posted, right? We all remember the gong show that Destiny 1's release was, and how absolutely livid everybody was about it, right? Destiny 1 died, it came back, absolutely rook, right? Once they started to release Taken King and all that sort of stuff, like Taken King brought a lot of people back, right? And that sort of like fixed a lot of it. But it's the same thing, like Diablo 3 and then the expansion that with Reaper of Souls, same sort of thing. I think the advantage that BioWare has with the product that they have on their hands here with Anthem is that they've already set up front that this is going to continue to grow, right? And it's going to continue to expand. And I think that that's the piece that's really, really interesting. They've committed to this deployment of content. And if they follow through, it's going to be successful.
It's interesting to the type of gamer, and I'm going to say this right now, a more mature gamer.
Sure.
That understands that is going to grow. A not as mature gamer who wants everything right now, right away. And yes, I'm talking about the younger player base, are not willing to let it grow. They want it friggin' steroid buffed already.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, was really where the divide is with this game in particular. And I think any live service game. I think this is going to happen no matter what game it is. We're talking Destiny. If we're talking Anthem, I think this is actually going to even happen with the Division 2.
Dude, no.
It's going to go. These types of games are going to have hills, peaks, and valleys, right? You're going to have the Maximus gamers who plow through everything, say there's not enough content here, they'll move on to a different game. But then when Anthem drops something new, they'll come back and play it. And then you're going to have the guys like us who have to go away for work. We have to do this. We have to do that. And we can't plow through the content. And we're going to be perfectly content with the timing of the live service.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So I think, yeah. And again, this game may not be for everyone, right? That is what it is. Not all games are created for everyone. I hate VR games. I think they're ridiculous. Yeah. Right. I mean, but I understand that there's a really solid market for them, and I'm simply just not the demographic, and I'm okay with that.
Pulling from chat here. EA publishes Apex, and no one has complained. Okay. And then burning Star says because it's free.
Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
That's one thing, right? Nobody can complain about a free game because of the state that it's in.
Right. The reason why we're complaining about Anthem is because we're dealing with a game that, depending on what version you get, costs between $60 to $100.
Sure. Right, and that's a big piece, right?
Yeah.
So I think the one thing, and I mean, I will kind of go out on the side here, and I will say that what BioWare has done with this game is they have created something that's a little half pregnant.
Yeah.
Okay. And so let me kind of get into this piece here to kind of support the naysayers a little bit, because the only real drawback to the flow, you talked a little bit about how the immersion is really important, and being able to play the game and not have that experience broken up.
Yep.
I feel like the one thing that BioWare was trying to do here was create a really robust world with lore, and the reason to do that is to make future content relevant and exciting, right? Mm-hmm. And so I get the reason why they did it. The only challenge really that I have with it is the necessary gameplay implementation that's required in order to check all those boxes off. So if you ever played those Mass Effect games or those crazy RPGs or any of the, MMOs and stuff, it's like, hey, go do this for me and then come back, right? But then when you come back, you've got to talk to literally everybody in town, or you're going to miss some quests. And then you go out and you do another one, and then you come back and talk to everybody, and it's like rinse, repeat.
And that's my problem is that you have such a heavy or large segment of gamers nowadays who don't want to stop and do that stuff. And I'm not trying to be negative here because I'm saying him by name, but like everybody knows that Jodat is our maximist gamer personality within our group, right? And Joe is going to do exactly what we're talking about. He's going to plow through all the content. He's going to get all his legendary gear. He's going to get bored, and then he's going to go play his go-to games. Sure. Call of Duty, Fortnite, Apex, and he's he's that guy.
He's that guy though that's going to put in those 90 hours in the first month, or the first 2 weeks rather, right? So if you take that into consideration, like us who are probably under a normal circumstance might be playing 10 hours a week, right? Yep. If that's the case, then you kind of spread that out, over the course of time, and it'll all line out. But that's not to say that he doesn't enjoy the game. I think that he's a different class.
Right. Yeah, and Kieran says, not everyone likes the story, but it's totally my jam. And I think this is the problem with a hybrid game like this, right? Is that you have BioWare, which is a company that has made some games with fantastic storylines, and they're trying to put it into the looter shooter genre, which comes with a player base who doesn't care about story. So it's almost as if they had a mountain that was almost impossible for them to climb off the hop, maybe.
Yeah, and that's the challenge that I've got, right? And from the way that they implement it too, it's like, I'm okay, by the way, if that's what you want to do. If you want to say, hey, combat's all about squads, and you really want to be all working together and stronger together, is their whole message. I think that's fantastic, and I really like the implications of that. But then when I come back to Tarsis, it's just me. There's no other squad members around. I don't see anyone running around, and it's really just me managing my own single player goals and missions.
Yeah. Okay, so
I don't like that piece. Yeah. And if they were focused, that's the piece where I feel like it's half pregnant. Sure. It really feels segmented.
So pulling from the chat again here real quick, because we want to make sure this is a community program where we make sure we pull from the chat as well, so that you guys are involved. So please continue to keep asking your questions here. Disease asks again, my question boils down to this: regardless of age or game maturity, do you think this game will be able to provide enough quality content over time to satisfy the gaming community members like yourself who grind this game until the end? Can they keep you playing until the next update? Yes, they can, because they have shown us a map of content that is going to come. This is a live service. This is a growing game. My problem with the initial reaction of this game is your Maximus gamers who say, well, I'm already gear score 450. I'm going to play this for another week, and then I'm just going to toss it away. But when you ask them, hey, what did you think of the story? What was your favorite plot line within the story? Did you do the Matthias side missions? Did you do this? Did you do that? They're going to say no. And I'm like, well, guess what? You got a few more hours.
Yeah. I think again, this is going to appeal to a specific segment. Yep. But I think that what's really important to note, and I'll bring it up here, is it's the skeleton that they've built this on. I think really is amazing.
Yeah.
When you can, so there was another post that I was reading earlier this weekend, and it talked about the idea of sockets. Okay. So you think about the sockets that this game is built on, and functionally a socket really being like an area where you can add a bunch of content or make changes, right? So you're into things like gear, you're into things like missions, affixes. Like there's so many personalities, different things that interactions with people. Like there's all these different levers that you can pull to kind of change the way that the game is played or change the game experience, whether it's for short term or long term, right?
Right.
And I think that there's a lot here. They've built a very strong foundation on which to do. The gameplay is outstanding. Yeah, it's amazing. When you're in there running and gunning and using all your abilities, they've really created something special.
Intensity of combat is what I've been saying.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And I mean, so Rook makes a point here, right? So there's probably about 20, 30 hours of story. Okay. Mm-hmm. But then after that, then you're into the end game replayability. And once you step into that end game replayability, that's where there's really like a next level of content, but content is loosely used, right?
If you blaze through it, Rook, if you blaze through it, and this is the other thing too, is my other problem with initial impressions, and talking about this segment between the Maximist looter shooter gamer and the RPG gamer and the gamer that's willing to take time, right? Is that Disease is in this chat. Disease, I don't even think has played this game, and he's just hearing everything that's happening around him and what's happening on social media. And this is my problem with the Maximus gamers, because the Maximus gamers fly through all the content and then they go on social media, and they are manipulating people's opinions of this game based on just one small segment of what they want to do when there's so much more to it. So you have like somebody like Disease come in and say, I've heard there's only 20, 30 hours of content. I've heard you can do it through side quests and all this type of stuff, right? This is what bothers me with the Maximus viewpoint of a game like this.
See, but I think that you really have to consider the source that information is coming from, though, and the type of gamer that you're watching.
Right.
Okay. Because people are going to watch gamers that align with their own perspectives and visibility. And
absolutely, yes.
Mm-hmm. So if somebody's watching, if you're watching, I mean, Mods I know is streaming it a lot, right? But like Mods is really chill, and he's pretty realistic about a bunch of stuff, and he just plays whatever.
Mods is also your Maximus gamer, though. He's the prime example.
But he's like a primary variety streamer that plays whatever game is popular at the time for as long as he can, and then moves on. But he's fairly chill about it, right? So you can't really like I think what's more important than really a lot of that. Exactly. And Rook's got it here on the head, because I don't agree. Like, I understand that what you're saying is true and it's happening, but at the same time, like, I don't think that it's as big of a problem as you think it is. Right?
Maybe it's not. Maybe because I'm just intertwined in the Twitch world a little bit more, and Twitch is a main source of media for me. And I guess I see it from that perspective. I just don't want this game to be just written off in a month or even like 2 weeks. Like I want to see what the reaction and the impressions of people are in 2 weeks.
Okay, so here's the thing. Even if you listen to the people that are bitching about content, you know what every single one of them are saying? Wow, the gameplay is great.
Yep.
Wow, this experience is really awesome. And that is what's important. So here's the thing about the content too, right? Like they released about 20, 30 hours of content, but guess what? There's more coming in March. They released exactly enough content for people to consume between now and when their next content. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And if they're going to formulaically perform on that axis, this game will last a very long time.
Absolutely.
Especially if they start pulling on those levers that I was talking about, adding more legendaries, adding more gears, adding more javelins, adding more, like, all of that stuff. And if they tweaking and balancing a little bit, like, as they start to go through that, more strongholds, the cataclysms are going to be insane. Like, this is the content.
I just wish...
And I'm using air quotes. This is the content that needs to be discussed when we are talking about this type of game, and not necessarily how long does it take you to finish the story.
Right, but and I wish everything that you just said within that last 30, 40 seconds was the focus. But I feel that there's an overwhelming group, and we're going to talk about that group in a later topic this evening, that is overwhelming, kind of like the lines of communication and in social media, where the lack of content discussion is the forefront, and then everything that you just said there within the last 30 seconds that we know is coming gets put to the back, and nobody ever sees it because they're listening to the people up at the front who have put in all the time. They're listening, they're watching Dat Mods, and they're going to listen to what he says because they support him and they sub to him, and they and they love him and they trust him. So that comes to the forefront. Everything that you just said that we understand, because we've went deeper with this game, comes to the back. And then you have people like Disease in the chat who are trying to figure out, should I play this game?
Sure.
So somebody like Disease never gets to play this game that we know is awesome, that we know what's coming for it, because all he's seeing on the outside is not enough content, bugs,
but you know what,
story sucks.
So you know what's going to happen next week? Next week, Mods is still going to be playing Anthem because the patch is going to come out, and he's going to be like, damn, they fixed a lot of stuff. This is really great. And he'll play it for another week or whatever, right? And maybe he'll stop. He'll pick something else up. But then you know what's going to happen? The content patch is going to drop. And then you know what? Dat Mods is going to play Anthem again. Yep. Right? And that'll happen very consistently because
I just hope that it's consistent enough for the people that have been seeing only negatives about this game for them to give it a chance.
Sure. But again, like they're complaining about a product that's not finished. Now, that is the source of a lot of people's complaints, is that how is this taking 6 years and it's finished?
And rightfully so. And we're going to talk about those things here as well.
Yeah. So why don't we move into that? Because we're already basically at the point where we're talking about how people are trashing on this, and I think that they're missing a lot of really important points.
Absolutely. I completely agree. All right, so let's move on to day 1 patch. So there is another post here I'll bring up.
Yeah, let's do that.
Anthem's day 1 patch will fix crashes, loading issues, audio bugs, and more. This is from Gaming Bolt. With Anthem now available for Origin Access and EA Access members, a large number of people have been experiencing the final product that we'll be seeing when it launches in full less than a week from now. But there are some issues. So this brings up a number of Mike Gamble's, who's the lead developer's tweets. So he goes through day 1, getting shot by invisible people. This is stream related, especially on slow/full hard drives. Patch makes it much better. We're talking about crashes, disconnects when talking to people in Fort Tarsis. Loading screens are another one. The audio disappearing, which happened to a number of us. Opening chests, counting challenges will have a larger radius. So I don't like this. I think it shouldn't have a large radius. I think it should just happen for everybody in the group.
No, so the problem is that you do need to have it in a radius, because what if you're in free play?
Actually, yeah, and people just sit there.
People that have flown around wherever. Yeah, no, it needs to be radius. So they're addressing that.
Yeah.
So that's definitely in patch 1. They're doing. There's an optimization coming for 5400 and 7200 RPM
Yes.
hard drives. So
Right.
that's coming
Right.
day 1.
Mhm.
Right. There's so many things that basically almost everything that's been brought up that's a bug or a really terrible play experience is being addressed almost immediately on day 1.
Yeah.
The other major complaint, and this one's tough, okay, especially for the forced multiplayer experience, okay, within the storyline or side story missions, is the tethering aspect, okay?
Yes.
So for those of you that haven't played the game, here's how it goes, okay? You all start at the same point, and then there's this little waypoint. It's a waypoint type system. I'm going to get waypoints in a minute. Hold on. I'll cover that when we get down to the last section. Let's leave waypoints and pings until what do we still want, because that's on the table.
Yeah.
But you basically jump off your starting point, and there's this little, compass indicator or a map indicator that's saying, hey, you go here, and then you go there, and then it shows you the next place to go, and then the next place, and the next place, right? But the problem is that if somebody jumps out ahead because they're super keen, because let's just say, for example, their computer or their internet system's not fast enough, they get this charming message that basically says, hey, you're outside the mission zone, you better get into it, or we're going to respawn you.
And it covers up essential information too, like your heat.
Yeah. But so that's a big problem. And I think that the challenge that we've been seeing is that the distance is too short. Like the
Absolutely.
Too short,
I said that a couple times when we were playing.
Yeah.
I said, wow, you guys are like barely in front of me, and the game's freaking screaming at me to be exactly where you guys are. And it's bad because you want to stop and pick up materials. What if you see a treasure chest? What if you see a parts thing that you can loot, right? Like that everybody's blown by, but you say, hey, holy shit, I need chimeric whatever, right? And I know I get it from this. Or hey, I need embers. Or something like that. You know what I mean?
You're in a free play with some rando who's literally just farming story missions, and it doesn't.
Yeah,
really
and just blasting ahead, and then the game screams at you and says, "Hey, I want you over here with this person."
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about the interruption of the story experience, like generally the free play and the mission areas are really seamless. Like there's not many load screens. It just goes right.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely something that they've addressed. They know that this is a change, and I think that what we're going to see is just a lengthening of that tether.
Kieran says it also cuts off story audio too.
Yeah, exactly. Because if they're too far behind, or the story audio is happening while you're in your loading screen, you miss it.
Dang.
So that's an issue, right?
Didn't know that.
There's a lot of feel bads that kind of are surrounding that system, but they know, they've heard us, they're working on it. Right? So I think that the reaction is going to be really interesting. But yeah, the day one patch.
I think day one, changes this game so much.
A lot of skills as well. A lot of the little graphical bugs, like there are some mission bugs as well that occur. Like sometimes so and so doesn't show up for some mission or whatever, and it glitches out, and you have to jump out and then jump back in or something. So there's things like that. Like there's all these little bugs. But like the reality is, guys, is like the full game isn't really even released yet. And I think that we have to understand that this is week -1 of release.
Exactly. But I mean, we live in this like instant gratification social media society who's like, it should be all on the table right now. Right now, this very moment.
I spent $60 or I spent $80 because I got the special edition or whatever it's going to be. So I demand the full game right now. Yeah. And I think that as long as we can kind of temper those expectations, it'll be interesting. And I think that the other one that's going to be really important is we know that they're very reactionary right now. And but they need to be able to continue that trend if they're going to deliver on a live service game. The only other live service game of this type that delivers a regular content, that delivers a consistent main line of communication with the developers that I'm aware of right now, is Path of Exile. And let me tell you right now,
that's true.
If there was going to be an example of a company
Oh.
knowing what its player base wants and delivering on that and
It's PoE.
continually
Yeah, it's PoE.
iterating
Absolutely.
and developing and creating and tuning. It's
Yep.
PoE.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah. And like
these
I don't even
BioWare can
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I don't even play PoE, and even I know that because again, being a heavy social media user and hearing what you guys say about Path of Exile, you know that Path of Exile is keeping their people happy.
Yeah. If this game follows that example,
yeah,
and if BioWare says this is how we are going to manage our narrative and develop our plans and communicate,
it's gonna be bonkers.
Dude, I'm telling you, this game's gonna be bonkers.
This game's gonna be bonkers. I agree. Yeah,
without question.
Yeah,
but that needs to be upheld. They need to continue to stay the course with the way that they're doing it, and if they continue to develop to deliver the content, and again, we can talk about the definition of content, because I think that if we're really getting back down to where the haters are getting it wrong, they have a very narrow view or very narrow definition of what content means to them.
Interesting segue.
If you are going to be the person, if you need to make a decision about whether or not you want to buy this game, you need to ask yourself some really important questions. Number one, do you enjoy awesome gameplay? Do you want that like really amazing experience? The flying is gorgeous. Everything is just, it feels really good. It is an enjoyable game to play. Great. This is probably for you. If your definition of content is simply a storyline, you may be a little bit disappointed.
Yeah.
If you want an RPG out of this, you're probably disappointed. If your definition of content is just new maps, features, PvP, new guns, new this, you may be a little disappointed.
Yeah.
But if your idea of content is all of these things
put together in a pie,
dude.
yeah. Maddie Fresh in the chat says, "Can we touch on how the game is performed for everyone from an FPS point of view? It looks clean, but I need to know."
Maddie has been building
frames.
He's waiting for all of his parts to come in, so he's like losing his mind.
Frames for me, being a single PC streamer, have been good. I usually when people are having frame issues on stream, and they're a regular viewer, they will let you know, right? They'll say freezing, clipping or whatever. So for me, it's been good. Now I am also running it on low settings because I am single stream PC, like streaming this on Twitch. So that could be a thing too.
So I'm running a pretty insane PC, right? Like I'm running a Ryzen 7 1800X. I've got 32 gigs of RAM. I've got Titan Ti. I've got everything running on solid state. Like I'm there, okay? And I run the game on Ultra minus ambient occlusion, which if you're running it in Ultra, you should turn off.
Yep.
Okay. And also post-processing, you should turn off. They are two very minor implications to your actual graphical experience, but it takes a huge load off your video card.
Blur too. Blur as well, I think, also helps too with this problem.
Yeah. So anyway, I changed those two settings. So
yeah.
Because I went through this, right? Because I was like, I'm only getting like 75, 80 FPS.
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel like with this crazy thing, I should be getting like insane FPS.
Yeah. Yeah. Humble brag for sure, disease. Yeah.
Fine. You do. Anyways, fine. So then I go down. So then I was like, well, how much of a difference does it make? Right. I dropped everything to low and I ran the game on low. And by the way, when I talk about 80, I'm talking about like hardcore in-game, in-map, running and gunning, shooting. Right?
Yeah.
And it does drop as low as like 63, 65. Like it happens, right? But the average experience is between 60 and 80 for me on Ultra.
Yeah.
When I drop it down to low, my average experience is still only like 73 to 85. Like it's not that much better, right? And so I don't think, like, if you can run the higher stuff safely, it doesn't have that much of an impact.
Yeah. I would say Secure, with your PC, I would be running on low. Matty Fresh says 75 on Ultra with the amount of action seems solid. It does. No.
Oh, it's great. It looks stunning. Don't get me wrong. It's gorgeous.
Mac is not streaming. Yes. So if you were streaming, I think that would be different.
Hold the phone.
Okay.
Hold the phone.
Holding.
I did indeed have my OBS running while I was playing all weekend,
Yep.
and I was recording, which is still doing a lot of that capture,
Okay. Okay.
and I was still having that experience. So all I'm saying is that I think it's pretty close. Like my resolution, I'm running it at native for my monitor, which is like I think for 2560 by 1440, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was great. But again, like it's whatever makes you comfortable. Here's the best thing: even on low, this game looks gorgeous.
Oh yeah, I agree. I've been running on low the entire time, again to try and save my frames from single PC streaming, and yeah, it looks fantastic. It looks beautiful, even on low set. And Joe Dad had been saying about that all weekend too. He's running on low too for his stream, and he says the game looks fucking fantastic on low.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
Right. So it's amazing. It doesn't run on whatever the hell you can handle. It doesn't matter because it all looks great.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And if you want to run it on the ultra, you want to run it on high. If you're running it at that high because your equipment can handle it, you probably have an insane monitor also, so you'll get the benefit, right? But most people have, average to middling monitors that they run their games on. And if that's the case, you're barely going to be able to tell the difference anyway. So run whatever you can handle and you'll love it. I think that once they put those optimizations in as well for hard drives, which reduces sort of the load, what I have it read as well. So one guy posted this thing on Reddit where he said that over the course of his 6 hour session or whatever that he was playing the game, he took a look and the game read 620 gigabytes of data off of his solid state over the course of that time.
Yeah.
So I think part of the problem with the load screens is that the way that it's set up is every time you go to a load screen, it's doing a huge data read. So what they're talking about the fix for that is they're looking at either moving some stuff to server side, which will help with some of the load screens at the PC. They're also working on some optimizations and seeing if there's stuff that they can do there. So I'm confident that the load screens will be addressed as well as the strain that they have on your computer as an extension.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. All right. So moving on, we're going to go back to something that we had brought up before. And I think this topic is going to take much of our discussion here this evening because it's something that we've already kind of poked our head into the sand a little bit. Is what the haters have wrong about Anthem. And I want to start off kind of, I don't know, reinforcing my point of view on this. So this guy named Skillup, and yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna say by name. So this guy, his profile, 600k subs on YouTube and 30k followers on Twitch. So this guy has a following, right? And this is a prime example of the type of guy that I'm concerned about in our current social kind of like environment and the gaming environment is going to have a very, very large viewer base who is going to be manipulated into taking what this guy says seriously and not purchasing this game. Now, this guy from day one has been shitting on Anthem. And for me, it's all about clicks. This guy. So, let's get into this here. Hold on. He goes, warning, I'm about to tweet about my experiences completing Anthem's campaign. There will be spoilers. However, if you do not like hearing opinions that are different from your own, please retreat to your safe space bunker now. So this guy preps people for an absolute flaming of this game off the top. He begins. I have just completed the brutal, unrelenting slog through the insufferably bad Anthem campaign, and having now completed it, my mind is filled with only one thought. Mass Effect died for this? Anthem really, really blows. 281 replies, 410 retweets, and 2.8k likes on this post.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Yep.
This is really simple because this is a matter of perspective. Okay?
Sure. This is the type
So
of
just from that,
this
just
is
from
the
that
type
first
of hater
statement,
that worries me.
just from his first statement,
Hmm?
what type of game do you think he wanted? Do you think he wanted an RPG, or do you think he wanted a looter shooter? Which one do you think he wanted?
This is so again, this is the guy that falls under I wanted looter shooter.
No, incorrect. No, he said Mass Effect died for this. He wanted an RPG.
Actually, you're right.
He wanted an 80-hour spanning whatever, you know. And he's like, oh yeah, Anthem, it's gonna be great because it's, you know, it's like a successor to Mass Effect. Well, sorry, bud. Anthem is Mass Effect multiplayer, tuned to 11. That's what this is, right?
Yeah.
So you again, you have to consider the source, and I get what you're saying, that these people with reach and these people with exposure, you know, I get it.
40K followers.
But the
600K on YouTube.
The problem is, man, like, those people want what he wants. That's why they follow him, right? Also, most people, mindless sheep, if they're going to just take what he has to say without doing any sort of due diligence for themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think so again, I hear what you're saying, but dude, like, you have to consider the source. You have to consider these people's feedback. Yeah, there are some people that are just like, this game is terrible because there's no story and I'm done in 20 hours and I'm out. There's other people that are like, the gear is, you know, abysmally rolled and it doesn't make sense, and the affixes are all messed up, and like, who needs 1% bonus damage? Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And why do I have shotgun ammo and sniper damage on my assault rifle? Like, there are those people.
No, okay,
right?
so hold on, stop. Chat. Kieran, he's going to cry. People can't just shit talk his Anthem. He has Anthem running through his veins. That's not true. I have problems with this game. This game has problems. But to come out and just blanket statement say that this game is trash, and this guy even goes as far as to say, one strong recommendation I have for BioWare team: delay the DLC roadmap. There's a lot of core stuff that needs to get fixed before more content is added to Anthem. It needs an RS6 style operation health update right out of the gate. I have problems with this game just as much as everybody else does. I've had the audio issue. I've had the connection issues. All that type of shit needs to get fixed. But the problem for me continues to be that, you know, 40K followers on Twitter, 600K on YouTube. This guy has huge reach, and to blanket say don't buy Anthem,
Okay, but so okay.
Bothers me.
I understand. So I'm going to be the voice of reason here, man. I'm sorry. Your chat is right. You're welcome, chat. Okay, you are fanboying too hard. You are going.
I'm not though, because I am willing to address the problems as well.
Okay, no, but you're by coming to the defense of the game the way you are literally white knighting the shit out of the game. Okay, the truth of the matter is that this guy had expectations that he set for himself, strictly based on the games that this developer has created in the past that he enjoyed.
Right.
Okay?
But the problem is that
his reach doesn't mean shit.
I disagree.
No. Because those 40K followers, like I said, they're like-minded. So you know what? In the grand scheme of things, it's actually better for the game if those 40,000 people don't buy it. Because then that's 40,000 voices that are not going to voice themselves as disappointed when they have exactly the same letdown of experiences that guy had, because they all wanted Mass Effect 4 as well. So here's the thing, okay? People that will buy this game and they're going to buy it because they want what the game offers.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that in the grand scheme of things, you're better off having those people listen to that guy and not buy the game.
You're right. Okay,
that negative publicity is good.
Yes. Okay. So Kieran says, "Do you really want those people in your game?" No, I don't.
No.
My problem though is people that are hearing about Anthem for the first time and their way of getting content or reviews or
Mhm.
opinions on the game is to
Mhm.
go to somebody like this. So I'm not worried about the people this guy has
Okay.
now. I'm worried
Well,
about the people that are investigating this game for the first time.
Sean, how
And
many people do you follow on Twitch? How many people do you follow on Twitch that play shooter games? How many?
tons, like 80%.
Great, great. So if one of those people that are at the top say that they have a problem with a game, do you take them at face value? Do you say, "Oh God, they're the gospel,"
No,
or do you
no,
then
okay, so
proceed to
no.
listen to all
No,
of the other resources that are available and go, "Wow, that's a really strong opinion. Maybe I should scratch away at this because I was interested in this game."
yeah.
And then they're going to be able to dig through and they're going to see some stuff that that will allow them to make their own mind up, because there is a lot of opinion out there on this game, both for and against. And yes, unfortunately, a lot of it is extremely polarizing, like this
So
example.
point, and then point 1B, the other thing that bothers me about a person like this is
Mhm.
that this is not the only one, and
Sure.
and there were people, influencers, I'm going to put it in air quotes, influencers, who were
Mhm.
given special access to this game. They were
Yeah.
flown out to
Yeah.
the private events.
Hmm.
They were given special access to
Sure.
this game by EA and BioWare,
I understand.
and then they turned around and they shit on the game after they were
Sure.
given access to it. So you
Sure.
look,
So I'm gonna tell you what, Sean.
so you look at
I'm
somebody like myself
Uh-huh.
who would love an opportunity like that.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna be constructive. I'm gonna say good things and bad things, but I'm not gonna shit about the game that I was
Sure.
just given special access to. I'm gonna be
But-
much more tempered in my thoughts.
Okay, fine. But at the same time, if that's how they feel, great. And by the way, you don't get to that large of a following without being polarizing. So I understand
Am I not polarizing?
no. So my follow up is, I understand your hype training on the game because I get it, been there, right? But the reality is just because somebody does that for you and just because somebody sponsors your stuff, doesn't mean that they own you.
True.
So
And I'm not saying that.
So because well, it did come off that way. So I would suggest, again, if we're going to take this all from a tempered keel, if we want to be the voices of reason in the cataclysm, we have the capacity to do that, right?
So hold on.
You
So
know-
Rook says, Sean, you've complained about audio glitches and loading screens. You are not critical about the gameplay. You know why I haven't been critical about the gameplay? Because the gameplay is fucking fantastic.
It's literally the best part of the game.
It's literally the best part of the game, Rook. Why would I complain about the gameplay? There's
the gameplay experience
gameplay
as a
is
whole,
fucking fantastic.
when you're into the actual missions. Like, this is the thing, right? Because the gameplay, it kind of goes in, there's different aspects of the gameplay. And so the gameplay of the experience of being in mission and running and gunning and being with your squad is really amazing and unlike a lot. Yes, it's the experience. It's the feel of that. There is something special. Somebody made a comment earlier, and to actually follow along with your point, I was watching a bunch of YouTube as well on the game, and this guy was doing this big masterwork showcase of all the stuff that he had.
Okay, hold on. Rook, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying if they shit on the gameplay, the game, that then they're just shitting on the game. No, what I'm concerned about is guys like this who just blanket statement the game is crap, it's garbage, Mass Effect died for this, without going more into it.
Sure. But that guy saw what he wanted and then left. Right?
Yeah.
He took a surface look, determined what it was that he wanted wasn't there,
Exactly.
and then decided to crap all over it, right? Because it's clickbait. I get it. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly, Josh. So the thing is that, the gameplay really is solid. It really, really is amazing.
Absolutely it is.
There are some little tweaks and adjustments that need to be made, I think, over, throughout that experience. Yeah, there's bugs and stuff that happen, the audio glitch, for example, but that's all like it doesn't make sense, in my opinion, at this point, to focus on those being reasons not to buy the game. Especially since it hasn't even been released yet.
Ding, ding,
The
ding,
day
ding,
one
ding,
patch
ding,
has
ding,
already
ding,
been said to
ding.
address all of these things. And I think that at the end of the day, that's the big piece that people need to realize, is that it's not even like, let's have this conversation 3 weeks from now.
Winner, winner, fucking chicken dinner.
If that stuff is still a thing,
then don't buy it.
Feel free, don't buy it, right? But the reality is like, with the reaction and with the way that BioWare has been responding, is a really good chance that this stuff's not going to be here by the time March content comes out.
Exactly. Okay, so here's a question.
Yeah.
So we get to February 22, the patch drops.
Yep.
Right? They fixed a ton of shit. The game is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Does a guy like this then get on his Twitter to his 40K followers and say, hey, you know what? They really changed Anthem. They changed all the stuff that I talked about earlier that I was worried about.
No,
of course not.
Going to.
Right.
Because what
right.
that
guy for me is irresponsible.
No,
and that's the part that really bothers me.
No, but I don't believe that it's useful to, like, I do not believe that it's useful to really harp on that. And the reason for it is because at the same time, those, like, that guy, even with the updates, still isn't going to get what he wants out of this game, because dude wants Mass Effect 4, and this is never going to be that. Never. Ever.
I get that side of it.
So,
yeah, I do.
So he will never do that. What I was saying, so you would look at somebody like Datmods,
yeah,
as an example. That guy will do that, because, like I said, he's going to stream this, and then the patch will come out, and he'll stream it again, and then he'll stream it again when the new content comes out.
Yeah,
and that guy will do that.
Absolutely.
Because that guy gets it, but this guy just doesn't. This isn't for him. Guess what? Tough Tuckus. It is what it is, man.
Okay.
Right?
What else?
You need to like, so the haters that are hating on this, they need to just go, like, let them have their thing. They're gonna flare up, they're gonna flare out. Because you know what? Yeah, they're all up in arms about it right now, but they're sure as hell not gonna say crap about it when it comes out later. Right? Because you're right.
But they're also not going to say anything positive either. Okay.
Who cares?
What else? I do. Is somebody
not everybody is going to say good things about the things that you like, dude. Sorry. And some of those people are just really ignorant about it.
Okay.
And that sucks.
What else are people getting wrong about this game?
All right. So I think that I think people are just at the core of this, people are misunderstanding what this game is. Right? And I think that is causing a lot of the challenges of opinion that are being presented within this, right? People need to realize that this is part of this and part of that. And it's for the people that don't necessarily want to go out and play Destiny. Because if they wanted a really good shooter with, like, fantastic gameplay that was focused on gunplay, they'd play Destiny. Sorry, they would.
True.
Right?
True.
If they want, but like, I think that the combination of using the skills and the combos and the squad requirements and the working together and the different types of classes and the potential for expansion within this world, and combine that all, wrap it up with how they execute the gameplay, the flight and the movement and all that stuff, they've got something really special. I watched somebody do something on YouTube today, and they were doing their Masterwork Showcase, like I said earlier, and they were like, you know what? I'm kind of through all the content and all the story. It was a little short. You know what? Like, I streamed the game for 12 hours last night, and I want to do it again. Like, BioWare has something really special here. And I don't know what it is yet, but it's just fun. And I think that is the type of measured understanding that needs to be more prevalent within our community, specifically around surroundings.
Yeah.
So people have it wrong because they have incorrect expectations about the game, because they don't understand what they're being given. And I think that's the number one challenge, if I had to put it out there, because I think that's systematic of so many other things that are going on.
Yeah. So I just brought up Metacritic. And the average... Okay. There's only one review on it so far, which is a 70. So there's not many reviews on this game yet, because obviously it's not out yet. But I would have expected to see at least a few, maybe early reviews.
Well, we'll just go write a 100 review, and then it'll balance it out.
Mm-hmm. Hilarious, man.
Hilarious.
Hilarious, my man. Anyways, all right. So let's talk about what we want moving forward. What do we need to see from this game moving forward?
Go ahead. You start.
Okay, we need to see, obviously, all the technical glitches gone. We need to see loading screens, audio, rubber banding, the SSD stuff. We need to see all those technical things fixed. I also think there's still a lot of intuitive stuff that they could do with the menus. I find that you have to really dig for certain things within the menus. And I think that the menus need to be much more intuitive. It needs to be easier to find things, in my opinion, through the menus. I would also like to see, I guess more ability to do things together as a team. So obviously we need gameplay aspects like the radius of the chests being larger, and like for some of the trials, I found that there wasn't enough explanation on certain things, like what is a multi-kill. Like, I didn't know until today that a multi-kill was 5 enemies at once, and that you couldn't just use your ultimate. So maybe a little bit more tutorial on those types of things as well would definitely help. I would like to see some of the affixes on the gear not be so random, and I think we need a way to re-roll affixes, almost like a Diablo type of thing, because like I don't want a shotgun with 3 affixes for different weapons. I find that hard to swallow as well too. Some of the legendaries we're seeing are absolutely amazing, but I think maybe some changes to the affixes on the loot would be nice too. So for me overall, that's it. I mean, it's mostly just technical glitches. I love the game. Am I fanboying? Maybe a little bit. I'm not afraid to admit that, but if we can get the technical stuff sorted out and this DLC roadmap can come through how they say, I think this game's gonna be phenomenal.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on in the chat right now. So so I agree. I think that as this game progresses, information is huge. We
Absolutely,
certainly
yes.
need more information, 100%, more clarity, more understanding, and along with that, along with sort of all the things that you said as well, we really need to see gear stats on your forge. So I need to see things like average melee damage, fire percent, cold percent, like
Absolutely,
things like that. Show me what my life is. Show me what my shield is, like, by number. We need those little bits, because when you're really micromanaging your gear and trying to optimize, those things are all extremely important.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Because how do you know the real impact except by feel? So, how does 20% fire damage really make a difference? What about 15% physical damage? Like, these things need to be clarified. So that's really important. Okay. There's I think that as well, aside from the technical, the bugs, all that sort of stuff, we need to see the continuous flow of content. We talked about that already.
Yep.
And content being new weapons, new javelins, new story missions, new events, cataclysms, this, that, and the other thing, right? So all of those things are extremely important. I think that as well, you need to fix it. The tethering needs to be addressed. But again, a lot of these are sort of like small gameplay things. But I think the number one is stats. I think that the end game, the expectations need to be more, more further cemented, more strongholds. Like, that's just all stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I think it's there. But again, it's information for sure. Like an archive of, or somewhere where I can look up a gun and understand what it does. Those terms, that's super important. The menus are a little cluttery, but we're not going to be able to fix that right away. So, that's part of it's a load-bearing wall, as we say in the business. So there's really not much we can do about that, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
And I think it's irresponsible to expect a lot of that stuff to change right away. We need to see the game stay true to delivering what it is promising to deliver, which means don't put in PvP.
Right? Oh my god.
You know what I mean? Things like that, right?
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing. I'd really like to see a function come in where we're able to reforge or re-roll one of the affixes on a weapon, right?
Absolutely.
So I'd like to be able to see that. Something like Diablo has in that regard. They
Yep.
did that really well.
Yep.
What I really feel like the game. So aside from the Masterworks and Legendaries with all of their abilities, okay. Aside from that,
Yep.
I really feel like the game is stuck in Diablo Loot 1.0. And that's a tough pill to swallow, given all of the information and data that's kind of coming through. But I think that it's a small price to pay for at this stage of the game, given how good and solid the gameplay is. So that's something that I think can be adjusted, and I think that falls for me underneath the content banner, content that can change, content that can come.
Yep.
I would really like to see a lot of the affixes. Organized a little bit more, a little bit less random, and have a little bit more impact. So, for example, listen, everyone's saying like don't use Diablo 3 as an example, but I'm telling you right now, like Diablo, a lot of people that say that I think stopped playing before Reaper of Souls, because I think
so. Yeah.
The current state, if you haven't played Diablo 3 in the last 6 months, I don't want to hear anybody complaining about an argument in the comparison to Diablo 3. Because a lot of the loot system and the min-maxing system that's involved within that game, I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay? Period, full stop. Change my mind. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that there needs to be a little bit more intelligence built into the affixes. So, like I said earlier, pistol damage plus 1% on an uncommon, sure. Right? But I mean, maybe a minimum 5%. Like maybe you just tweak the basement.
Yeah, 1% affix is not acceptable. No.
Things like that, right?
Yeah.
And again, something like, why am I putting sniper ammo and shotgun damage on a sniper rifle? Like,
exactly.
That doesn't make sense, right?
No.
So I think that there's definitely some areas to improve the loot game, and I know that that's been a really big criticism as well, that a lot of people are leaning on as a crutch for this game. But I think that it's a simple fix once they really kind of get all the bugs out of the way and sit down and really work through it. The Masterworks and the Legendaries seem busted. There's a lot of those numbers are sort of jacked up to the ceiling. A lot of the damage does really well. And I think that as long as they continue to create new and innovative ways to do that. But again, when we're talking about the min-maxing and stuff and the lexicon of what does what mean, it's extremely important to have all those.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Too, right? So if we can have sort of that data, that information, whether it's tooltips or whatever, then cool, right? Yep. But I think that's sort of a lot of what I would want to see in order for the game to be perfect. But I'm a patient guy, and as it stands right now, I'm in a camp where I'm pretty solidly enjoying it.
And I think the patient camp is a small one. Again, this is my concern is that I feel like the patient camp is a small one overall. I just hope that our voice doesn't get smothered by other ones within kind of just like the gaming community. The other thing too, I think as well, and we haven't touched on, is the microtransaction store. I think all discussions about the microtransaction store need to stop. The transaction store is fine for me. I have no problems with it. Both from
except that you'd like to be able to buy multiples in one shot without being logged out of the store.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. So like stuff like that. Like I did tweet at Mike Gamble about needing multiple embers to be purchased within the store. That's fine. But in terms of like the actual armor sets that you're going to pay for, I think everything's priced fine. I have no problem with it. People were like, well, how much more is it going to cost to have everything that this game offers? And from what I've seen, somebody went through and bought everything. You can have everything in terms of armor and emblems and all that type of stuff in the store for $30 extra. For $30, right? So if you want it all, drop another $30 and you're going to be fine. What do we got in the chat here?
Yep. There's a lot of arguments going back and forth that are slightly on but off topic. We're really arguing the value and the strength of end game sort of gear. Well, just overall sort of gear optimization. Yeah. We devolved into Diablo 3.
Oh, jeez. My chat actually kind of shut off there for a while. All right, so let's. I know Mr. Scotty Mac can't stay with us for any
I can't
gameplay
say it
because
again.
he has a big flight to Orlando tomorrow. So let's end this here for the talk show portion of the broadcast, and then we'll get into our open Q&A. We can talk a little bit more. We can talk about the lack of naked chicks, yes, in open
So you know
Q&A.
what we can't talk about? Here's one thing. You know why? I tell you right now. I figured it out, guys. I figured it out. It took us the whole show to figure it out. Maddie, you just totally got me. Do you know why that guy is so pissed off? Why he thinks Anthem is a pile of garbage? Because he looked at how beautiful the game was and realized that there was nobody for him to sleep with in Anthem, and he was just so tilted that he was like, "This game is terrible." Mike.
Oh, it's so bad. Yes, no naked chicks, no boobs. Means the game is bad. All right, y'all. We are going to move into our open Q&A portion of the broadcast. I'm going to fire up some Anthem and get in with whoever wants to join us for some gameplay for a couple hours. I want to thank everybody that came out and dropped questions, added to the conversation. Again, this show is for you guys. I want this to be a talk show, podcast, melting pot type of conversation that we do every Sunday, right? We play Anthem from Monday until Saturday. We figure out, what we like, what we don't like, what we want to see change, and then we talk about it on Sundays for the show here. I really, really appreciate the support of everybody that comes in and consistently gives their thoughts. Everybody that's new too, it's been fantastic. So, Mr. Mac, I am going to let you go at this point. Thank you for being my co-host once again this week, and we are going to move into some Q&A and gameplay stuff right now. All right, buddy?